Hi everyone. I just wanted to make a quick video here to talk a little bit about the presentation that's due on Monday and what the discussion is going to look like. A few folks joined the Zooming call this morning and we talked through some of this and they thought it would be really helpful if you all could hear about it as well. So here we are on the homepage of Canvas. If you go into the course schedule, scroll down to the bottom. So your presentations are due at 9 a.m. Let me just open that link here. I added some instructions to them just so you could kind of understand. Um, I talked a little bit about that you could present your research however you wanted to, in any kind of creative format. I just wanted to add a little bit to what that might look like. In terms of timing, if you're creating a video or something, 15 minutes would probably be good. And in terms of like presenting your research finding, one thing you might do is have, so there's some, let me skip ahead for a second. There's the rubric here. So you've got like 30% on the presentation, things like clarity, pace, creativity, organization, etc. The content itself is worth the most amount. And so there's some things you might want to include, like the introduction, um, the methods and the conclusions, and then the findings. So you might divide, like if you had three people in your group, you might have one person do the introduction to your topic, one person talk a little bit about your methods, meaning like how many people you recruited, and like if you had to shift or pivot because of the online nature of the interviews, you could explain those factors in there. And then someone could do the conclusion. A conclusion can often have something like, um, maybe you talk about like this research was really interesting. We found these things, and here's research that I think would be really valuable to do going forward, like future research. So sometimes initial research just tells you what other research needs to be done, and that would be an interesting approach to take. Or you could talk about a potential solution if your topic was problem oriented, like if you're in the underage drinking group, you could talk about like what some of the problems that stem from underage drinking are and how you think the school might address them or something like that. And those are things that you might also write about in your paper. And then you could each do one research finding. As you'll see what I wrote up here, you may present all of your research findings, or you might focus on one or two. It's up to you to present what you think is most engaging for the purposes of a 15-ish minute presentation. But the ethnographic material is really the heart of what you've done, and so you should make sure that you get to spend some time on that, pulling out quotes or compelling passages. Excuse me. There it is. Um, from your interviews and your field notes, probably not your field notes, just mostly your interviews due to the nature of the research that you did. So for example, if you're spending like 3 minutes or 4 minutes on one research finding, you might say like, we found that first year students are more likely to drink a lot if they're out with people that they don't know. For example, one junior, Benny Sarah, said blah blah blah. One first year Johnny said blah blah, and you quote some of those things, like pick out the most poignant examples across the data. Also, it's interesting sometimes to pull out outliers, like most people said this, but we had one person who said this, and here's how we're making sense of that, what your interpretation of it is. So make sure you're using lots of ethnographic data. That's what's going to make these presentations really compelling. So this is the rubric here for you. It's all on there. And then just to remind you, what you're going to do is on Monday, you are going to send me the presentations and two discussion questions. And then I'm going to post, so on this discussion board that says HOC group presentation discussion board. So your discussion board is worth the same amount this week, 5%. But what it's going to be is every group will have a link here. So you'll just go into this discussion, the weekly discussion board, and then you'll see a link to each of the different groups. So each group is going to send me your presentation by Monday morning, and I'll post them. I'm going to show you where. And then you're going to send me one to do discussion questions based on your presentation that you might ask. Like it could be about students, like if it's the drinking group, about their own drinking behavior, about what solutions they think would work to actually get people to, not drink so much that they go to the hospital or whatever. Something that just like creates an interesting conversation. Then every student will watch, read, listen to the presentations by all the other groups, respond to the questions posed by Thursday, and then ask at least two questions to any group. So two total. You don't have to ask a question in each single group because that will be too many questions for the groups themselves to respond to. But just like it based on the presentation, like just as if you were watching it in class, you may have a question based on somebody's presentation. So then you'd want to ask that question in class. Like, can you tell me more about how you, like, if people, you felt like people were nervous answering questions, whatever question you want to ask. So you just have to ask two total. It could be like, say you had two questions for the vaccination group. You could ask them both there. It doesn't matter how you divide that up. So basically, you're going to click on each of these links, and each link, once I get on the Monday, once I get the presentations, I'll upload the presentation here so you'll watch it. And then by Thursday, you need to watch all the presentations and then respond to the discussion questions, which will be here. And each of them says the same thing: watch, read, listen, respond to the questions asked, and then ask at least two questions total across all the groups. And then if you ask a question, check back to see what the response to the question was. That's just like a courteous way of having a conversation with someone. Like if someone asks you a follow-up question, you want to check back and make sure that something's not being asked to you. So that is basically what next week is going to look like. And hopefully that cleared things up for you. I'll send you this video now so you can get a sense of it. And also always feel free to ask me questions in any format that you'd like, email or on the group discussion, or where is it, the weekly update, or on the virtual office, or whatever is useful to you. All right, thanks so much.